Bill Sienkiewicz is an accomplished artist who first got his career started with DC but eventually moved over to Marvel, and at this point is probably best known for the work that he did at Marvel, which includes titles like Moon Knight and also New Mutants. In this video, we are going to take a look at some of his must-have comics from both Marvel and DC. Stay tuned. Reggie here, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. As I mentioned in that intro, we are going to take a look at some work from Bill Sienkiewicz, and we are going to get things started off with a project that he did for DC, and this is the first solo title series for the character known as The Question, and this is issue number 1, and as you look at this cover, you know that this is a Bill Sienkiewicz cover, no doubt about it. He is known for those painted covers and that abstract type of style, and this is a great representation of his approach to art. I think it's a pretty solid cover, so I wanted to make sure that I pulled that in to show folks that. Bill is known in a lot of ways for a lot of different titles, but I think that the work that he did on Elektra is one of those things that readily jumps out at a lot of people. Maybe because in the 80s he just captured people's attention with this different and unique style. So I wanted to include a couple of representations of his run on Elektra, and this is issue number 1 of the 8-part limited series that he did. Technically this is for Epic Comics, which is an imprint of Marvel, but just a fantastic cover featuring Elektra with a very large gun. No doubt about that. That's just a really great cover. There's no way I could have done a video about must-have comics for Bill and not included something from Elektra. And in fact, I wanted to double down on it. Because I just think this cover's really cool. And it's a little bit more abstract than the previous, but just again a representation of his creativity. And this style, this approach is something that we see that has evolved over time. If you look at like his Doctor Doom cover, it is similar to this, if you will, but even more engaging and more abstract than what we see right here with issue number 8 of Elektra. But again, just a wonderful representation of Bill Sienkiewicz's artwork. Next, we're gonna go in a different direction. I think a lot of people know Bill for his painted covers, but his very first cover in the industry and for Marvel wasn't anything like what we just looked at in the previous examples. It was much more traditional and does not look like him at all. This is Black Panther issue number 14. That does not look like Bill's work. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to showcase it in this book, because I don't know that people are familiar with his more traditional work. And I don't know how long he did this. I don't know how widespread it was, but I just thought that this was a great cover to pull in to represent maybe his evolution as an artist from a more traditional approach to something that wasn't as traditional. But just, again, 2 great representations of Bill's talent. Now we're going to go maybe in a different direction. Maybe this is a blending of the two. Maybe this is a little abstract, a little more traditional, but maybe even one of the early examples of a negative space comic cover. And I know that those have been incredibly popular over the last couple of years. This is Moon Knight issue number 24, a wonderful red cover that has a little negative space maybe over here in this dress. Bill's just a talented dude. This was a really cool cover that I wanted to showcase, and I could say the same about issue number 25, which is like a different direction, right? You have a bright red, and now you have just this black and white cover right here with a little bit of red and yellow in the trade dress. But I think I probably need to replace the bag on this one because it does not do this book justice right there, but just a really cool cover by Bill. Next up, I wanted to represent his run on a title that I think is very much closely linked with who he is. That is his run on New Mutants. And so I wanted to include this one. This is issue number 18. This is the cameo appearance of Warlock and also the first full appearance of Demon Bear, and just a really solid cover. I probably could have pulled out any number of covers that he did for New Mutants, but I thought that this one was really cool, so I wanted to make sure that I showcased this one. All right, this next one is, again, like the Black Panther book. It doesn't look like him, and I had to like double check it to make sure that this was accurate. But he also did something for Star Trek. Star Trek The Next Generation issue number 1. Yes, it is a painted cover, but it doesn't necessarily look like him. It's a little maybe more mixed media than anything because of the background versus the Enterprise. The Enterprise looks painted, whereas this, I don't know, one of the dashboards that they look at doesn't appear to be painted. So it's a little bit of a mixed contrast there, but definitely a Bill Sienkiewicz cover right there. Star Trek Next Generation issue number 1. This book is the first appearance of a lot of really popular characters, including Captain Picard, Commander Riker, Data, etc., etc. And again, going back to Moon Knight, again, a title that is very closely linked with Bill, I wanted to include issue number 1. This is a CGC 9.6 with white pages that was pulled from the 100K collection. Again, maybe not a true Bill cover because it's not as abstract. It is a little more traditional than maybe what we have come to expect from him, but a cover that he worked on for Marvel nevertheless. When was this? Back in 1980 right there. So it was definitely still early on in his career and certainly early on in his stint for Marvel. And the last book that I'm going to show you is again, maybe the evolution. This is Transformers issue number 1, and a really fantastic cover by Bill. This is a great book, a wonderful nostalgic cover for me as somebody that grew up in the 80s and absolutely loved Transformers. I wanted to make sure that I included that cover in there. So there you have it. That is essentially my rundown of must-have comics associated with Bill Sienkiewicz. If I missed your favorite cover from him, I definitely want to encourage you to sound off down in the comment section. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I want to invite you to do that as well. While we don't have a Bill Sienkiewicz cover, I do want to encourage you to consider picking up a copy of Isolation issue number 2. We have some amazingly talented artists that have worked on the interior pages as well as the covers. So if you haven't yet picked up a copy of Isolation issue number 2, or 1 for that matter, I want to encourage you to head over to regiecollects.com and make your purchase. And we thank you in advance. If you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.